This is the Life by Design podcast with Angela Weiss, episode 8. Burnout isn't laziness, it's a nervous system in survival. Welcome back to the Life by Design podcast. I'm Angela Weiss, family and psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner and author. I'm really glad that you're here today, that you took the time to spend with me. Before we get started, I just want to take a moment to set the tone for this space. This is not a polished podcast. I'm not a polished person. You might hear my dogs bark. A cat might wander through. I might stumble over my words. I might be sitting outside and you might hear the neighbors or the wind or just, life happening in the background. And I want you to know that none of that is something I'm trying to edit out because life isn't polished. In fact, I can hear my cats upstairs doing I don't know what. I hope you don't. I don't want this to feel like something that you have to keep up with, this podcast. I want this to feel like a place where you can just come as you are, listen, and take what you need. You don't have to agree with everything I say. Just take what works for you. Leave what you don't behind. I also want to gently remind you that this podcast is for educational and supportive purposes only, and it's not a substitute for individualized medical or mental health care. Listening to this podcast does not create a provider relationship with me. Excuse me, allergies are bad right now. If something in this episode resonates deeply with you, I encourage you to reach out to a licensed provider for support. And then I realize sometimes I do things and people that are just listening can't actually see what I'm referring to. So I was just rubbing my nose. Okay, I want to start by asking you something. And I don't want you to answer yourself or out loud quickly. I want you to actually sit with the question for a moment. How have you really been feeling lately? Now, what you say when someone asks you might be different, but I want to know what's underneath that. Have things been feeling heavier than they should? Have you been more tired than you've let on or you can explain? Do you ever look at your life and think, why does everything feel so hard right now? Everything is so heavy and I am so exhausted. And maybe you haven't said that out loud, but there's a quiet thought in the background. Man, what is wrong with me? I am not acting myself lately. What could it be? I want you to hear this clearly. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You might be burned out, burning that candle at both ends, trying to do everything. And burnout doesn't mean you couldn't handle your life. It often means you handle too much without enough support, doing it all on your own. Things that weren't supposed to be managed by only one person. But sometimes there's no one there to help carry that load. So the nervous system story is an important part because when stress shows up occasionally, your body responds and then it resets, reboots. But when stress becomes constant, your body stops resetting. And when that happens, your nervous system shifts. Not necessarily into panic, but something quieter. It goes into survival mode. And survival mode doesn't always look like what we think it does. It doesn't always mean that someone's falling apart. It can't always be seen from the outside, and oftentimes it's mostly felt on the inside. Most of the time, it looks like you're still showing up. You still go to work. You still take care of all the things. You still answer to all the people. You still do what needs to be done. But underneath that, your nervous system is not at rest. And when your nervous system is not at rest, it starts conserving energy. It pulls energy away from anything that is not essential. Like generators when they go on backup. That includes motivation. That's not essential. Joy, not essential. Creativity, not essential. Connection with others, not necessarily essential. So when you say, man, I don't feel like myself anymore, you're right. You're not yourself anymore, at least not right now. And this is what it feels like. I want you to think about your mornings for a moment. When you wake up, do you feel rested? Or do you feel like the day hasn't even started and I already feel behind? Do small things feel heavier than they should? Annoyances over things that really shouldn't bother you? Things that used to feel simple now feel like they take a lot of effort and you just don't want to do it. Do you ever sit down to rest and not actually feel rested? That feeling, that is burnout. And sometimes it's not even sadness. It's just flat. Nothingness. Just a quiet disconnection from yourself, from the people around you, and from the world. And this is the weight that you've been carrying. So this is where burnout goes deeper, because it's not just about what you're doing, it's about what you've been carrying. Carrying the responsibility, the expectations of yourself. Man, are we hard on ourselves? The expectations of others, the emotional weight, the mental load. And at some point, responsibility stops being something you carry and becomes something that carries you. You wake up tired, not because of today, but because of everything that came before today, and sometimes the things that come after today. So then sometimes your mind won't shut off. And for many people, burnout doesn't just show up as exhaustion. It shows up as a mind that won't stop moving, won't turn off, racing thoughts at night, overthinking simple things, replaying conversations, trying to mentally stay ahead of everything. And you wondered, oh my gosh, why can't I shut this off? Because your body doesn't feel safe enough to stop. You cannot think your way out of burnout. I want you to know that this is not always depression, okay? I want to slow this part down. Not all heaviness is depression. Sometimes it's your nervous system needing a chance to exhale. Just a deep breath. You can be functioning, you can be showing up, you can be doing everything that you're supposed to do and still feel overwhelmed in your body. That doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means something has been too much for too long. And this is what actually helps. I'm going to say something that might feel uncomfortable. You don't need to do more. You need to do less. And I know how hard that is. But burnout does not heal through pressure. It heals through safety. And safety doesn't look dramatic. It looks like doing less, slowing down, saying no, sitting outside, taking a full breath, letting your shoulders drop, doing one small thing, just one small thing, and letting that be enough. Burnout doesn't heal in big moments. It heals in small, safe ones. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to not have the answers. You are allowed to need rest. Even if nothing looks wrong from the outside, you do not have to earn rest. If you're here right now, you don't need to fix your whole life today. And in fact, you cannot fix it all today. You didn't get this far quickly. You don't need a plan. You don't need to become a different version of yourself overnight. You just need one moment. One moment where your body feels just a little bit safer. And then another. And then another. You didn't get here because you weren't strong enough. You got here because you were too strong for too long. If you want to go deeper into this, I've written several books about burnout and mental exhaustion and carrying too much. And these books are available on Amazon. I have one called The Overburdened Man, where I write specifically to men, and The Overburdened Man Toolbox with tips and tricks for anxiety and shutting it off. A book called When Your Mind Won't Shut Off, and one called Burnout Isn't a Personal Failure. I have several others. You can search Angela Weiss on Amazon and find those. I also have a burnout packet. If you'd like this burnout support packet, something gentle and practical to walk through this with you, you can email me at angela@lifebydesignpress.org and just put burnout in the subject line. I'll send it to you. You can find me on Instagram at Angela Weiss Author. Weiss is the spelling of my last name. On Facebook at Life by Design Press. On LinkedIn, if you want to contact me professionally, Angela Weiss. And I'll put my website where I do a daily blog Monday through Friday in the show notes. So this Sunday, we'll have a faith edition episode. And on Tuesday, we'll be back with another full relationship episode. And next Thursday, we will continue diving deeper into burnout, which seems to be a very big need right now. If you're listening to this and you are in a crisis, or you feel like you might be, please don't sit with that alone. In the United States, you can call or text 988 or go to the 988lifeline.org or call 911. If you're outside the US, please reach out to your local emergency service or crisis line in your area. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for taking the time for yourself to listen to me tell you things to help you. Wherever you're at, whether you're driving or walking or drinking a cup of coffee or painting or whatever, take what you need, leave what you don't, and keep living your life by design. And that is supposed to be the end of the podcast. However, I think I probably should say a little bit more, because sometimes people feel really alone in their situation. And I want you to know that you're not. Now, I don't carry anxiety anymore. I used to. I used to be a very anxious person. But along the way, I was able to lay it all down and stop picking it back up and understand that I can only control so many things in my life, that most things are outside of my control. And so for the things that are outside of my control, I can't carry that. It's not mine to carry. But what I can control, what I wear, what I eat, what I do, where I go, who I choose to spend my time with, who I choose to allow into my home, into my life, into my head. Those are things that I can control. What I look at on social media, what I don't look at, where I choose to work. But what other people do, what other people say, how other people react, I can't control that. So I don't need to carry it. That being said, sometimes the world gets really heavy. Sometimes we just start to have this inner feeling of like angst or heaviness that we carry in our hearts, in our minds, in our mind, in our chest. And sometimes when we're carrying that, it makes all the things that we're going through seem so much bigger. So for instance, a couple of my electrical outlets just randomly stopped working. I didn't know why. I'm not an electrician. I don't know how to fix that stuff. I came to my box, whatever. I'm looking at it. It's in front of me. And I flipped the switches, the breaker box. It didn't fix it. Whatever. I pushed the little reset buttons. It didn't fix it. And I thought, great, this is just another one of those things that I'm going to have to call somebody to fix. And it's probably going to be something simple. I waited a couple days and I came down and I re-flipped the switches in the breaker box. And guess what? Now it works. But that was something simple, right? Maybe not simple at the time, but something simple. And when those kinds of things hit us at the wrong time, they become bigger. We feel like they're bigger than what they really are. My internet went out. It took several days for someone to come and fix it. I thought maybe I didn't pay the bill. I look online and I did pay the bill. Oh, they said, a squirrel chewed the line, so they had to replace it outside. But at the time, that was difficult because I am a nurse practitioner and I do telehealth visits and I have to have adequate internet services. By the way, I purchased a second internet service that also wasn't working. You know why? Because it's Starlink and it was plugged in to one of the outlets that stopped working. So, those are inconveniences that we let get into our head and make them bigger than what they need to be. have a frozen shoulder. I don't know how it got frozen, but I would really like for it to thaw out. Yes, thaw out. Pain. I've never been one to carry pain, chronic, physical chronic pain. And this has been going on for over a year, but progressively getting worse. And it makes me cry. It hurts so much. I go to physical therapy. It hurts. Go to the chiropractor. It hurts. I do the exercises. They hurt. I wake up at night. They hurt. You know what happens? That pain affects how I show up for other people, for myself, what I do. It makes me irritable. The electrical outlet's not working properly, the internet going out, the pain in my shoulder, they compound. And when you're feeling overwhelmed and you have those kinds of things compounding, they seem bigger than what they are. And then we add in all sorts of other things, right? Relationships, work, finances, whatever you add all that stuff in, it piles and piles and piles and piles. And it's so much to carry. It's so heavy sometimes. And sometimes we break down and sometimes we cry. And sometimes we feel like I can't do this. Even if life looks beautiful and amazing from every perspective, sometimes it just still gets heavy. Here comes my cat. If you didn't hear her, for those of you who are watching, you're probably going to see her. But for me, for many others, there are all kinds of other things going on. And, okay, well, hello, Iris. Welcome to the podcast. Someday maybe I'll be professional about this. That's not today. I have something coming up in my life that is weighing heavily. An anniversary of a birthday of someone who means the world to me, who's no longer here. And I recognize that a couple weeks before her birthday, my daughter, Emma, and a couple weeks before her death day, I feel it heavy. I feel it heavy in my chest. And I think that's why this beautiful little Siamese cat came to see me. Because she knows that everything's felt a little heavier the last few days. And you know what happens when you add grief into the mixture of life? It makes it hard. Because you never know. You never know what's going to trigger the tears, the sadness, the loneliness. But it comes and it goes. And it comes and it goes. So I just wanted to share that I feel like I have a beautiful life. I'm so thankful for everything about it. But sometimes things get a little heavy. And that's okay. We just don't want to stay in it. Anyway, thank you again for being here. Again, this isn't rehearsed. I don't rehearse this. I think about what I want to say, and then I say it. And then the cat comes in. Hello. And sometimes I think I'm finished, and then I'm like, wait, I'm not finished. And that's okay. And that's okay for you too. So I hope to see you around. Have a great week.